Aloha HGTV, welcome to the Mahina Treehouse. Mahina means moon, by the way, in Hawaiian. We're up in the mountains, 5 minutes away from downtown, 5 minutes away from the beach, conveniently located close enough to anything that you may need. Welcome. My name is Jose Jube. I am a father, art lover, and a motorcycle rider from Brazil. I don't know what else I can say. I've always loved climbing trees. So when we bought this house, I used to climb up here and have a glass of wine, and my daughter would climb higher than me with a book. And I always imagined the treehouse. I imagined, like, how cool would that be to have a treehouse? Until actually one day I decided to do it. Because the tree is just so beautiful, I wanted to be in it all the time. This is a Chinese banyan tree, between 75 and 100 years old. We worked with an arborist before we built the treehouse, and we knew from the arborist, given the size, the year, the age of the tree, how much weight we'll be able to put on without damaging the tree. We didn't cut a single limb. Everything was around the tree so the tree can grow. We want to feel like the house was part of the tree. The tree is still the goddess, the owner of the space, and we're just trying to coexist with it. We try to work with the nature. It took us 6 years to build the treehouse, and it was probably the most difficult thing I've done in my life. Probably the most satisfying too. When we started building this thing, I didn't know how difficult it was. There's no crane, there's no 50, 100 people to help you. Basically you rig everything up on ropes and carabinas, and a lot of skill. But everybody at one point or another have to be hanging on the rig. It's all propane, it's all solar. There's no TV there. We do have internet, but we want you to connect with the tree, hear the birds in the morning, hear the birds now. It's about a connectivity with nature. That's what we're missing. So it's a very harmonious way to build the way we built. Let me show you around. So here you have a full kitchen. Lava rock on the walls. Those rocks, just incredible. Every single piece of wood that you see was reclaimed, from the posts to the ceiling, through the cabinets. They're all remnants. We're using endemic wood. We're not just going to the big box store and buying a bunch of lumber. It's all ohia, super dense, bugs don't like it, and it's very hard to get. And we did it all with it, which is pretty cool actually. It's very inviting, it's very cozy, I think, and it's very organic, Hawaiian feeling. This is we call it the lower deck. Any time of the day, you can sit here, you're looking at Diamond Head, you're looking at the flowers down below. I love the city lights, especially at night. You can see a little bit of the ocean, and you're still surrounded by all this greenery around you. So it feels like you're floating on top of the city. I also wanted to honor my own heritage. I'm from Brazil, and we have a couple of hammocks I brought from Brazil, a chair that I bought from a Netflix set, a little giraffe that my sister gave me from Brazil. It wasn't just a Hawaiian or a Brazilian feel, but I wanted to have a tree feel. You're looking at nature, you're feeling this breeze, and it's like I haven't even gone upstairs yet. Let me show you upstairs. Everything is held by cables. So the whole idea is we don't want this tree house to touch the ground. So just like the San Francisco Bridge it has cables. And basically it's supposed to resemble a tree branch, like seamless. It's like it's part of the tree in a way. It's part of a branch. And all the hardware that you see, it was all handmade. This is what I like to refer to as the bird's nest. What you see here is kind of hard to describe. We also made all the furniture as well. A lot of these things are from a company that we own. It's called Sunken Forest. We recover logs from the Patagonian lakes. Logs that have been lost hundreds of years ago, and they're sitting on the bottom of the lake. We rescue them, dry this wood, and make custom furniture with them. We're not cutting a single tree to make really beautiful furniture. We're creating furniture by cleaning the lakes. And some of this wood came from Patagonia, Chile, from water logs. I find that to be very relevant in these days, when we have so much struggles with nature and the destruction that we're doing to it. So we try here to encourage the opposite. We try to keep it all natural edge, just letting nature be nature, even with the furniture. We made all the windows, all the doors, and we designed and fabricated all the truss, all the structural element of the roof, all handmade hardware. You're not going to find a single screw or a single nail. It's all held together with stainless steel straps, so we wouldn't crack the bamboo and create places for bugs and things like that. This leads to the loft. I call it the Isabella loft. We wanted to make a stairway that it wasn't just a way to get to the loft, but it was an experience to get to the loft. So we used mango slabs, which turned out to be beautiful, very simplistic, very inviting to go up to the loft. So inside here you have all this beautiful live edge here. This was where my daughter Isabella used to sit and to read a book on this crotch of the tree right here. So that's why we call it the Isabella loft. It's very cozy, it's very inviting. We built it in a way where nothing gets wet. And also we made the bed in there as well, so everything's fit to that particular room. Down here, that leads down to the bathroom, and we obviously encourage people to walk backwards because it's very steep. Easy to go nose first. So here you have something really unique. It's a full bath, beautiful shower, and everything else that you need. You wanted the tree to be part of the bathroom and make it feel like you're connected to it. As you can see, it goes through one window and get out on the other. I also wanted the bathroom to have a little lanai where you can get out of the bathroom and just go out into a lanai. Very cozy and very Hawaiian. This was, the best way to put it, this was like a love project, a passionate project that I not only love to do it, but I love to share with other people, and I think that's what we're trying to do here. We have made a lot of friends, great friends from this experience, so from that sense, it's hard to put a price tag on it. But I spent all the money that I had and some that I didn't have to do this thing. Thank you HGTV for doing this. I'd love to invite you and the friends who are watching and those who are not watching as well to come and visit us in the Mahina Treehouse. Thanks for coming.
When we first were naming our bus, we kind of went back and forth for a while, weren't really sure what to name it. I think the story behind it, the girl said like she had a chicken named Bessie and it just died or something. So I was like, oh, that's so sad, like the name can live on. And so yeah, we just decided to go with Bessie.
Hi, I'm Kels.
And I'm Jay, and this is our handmade home, Bessie the bus.
As soon as we got the bus, one of the first things we did was got proper dirty and just ripped the whole thing apart. We took out the seats, took out the ceiling, all the sheet metal inside the bus, ripped up the floors, basically just took it down to the bare bones so then we could start afresh. We had a blank canvas to work off of.
When you get in here, you'll notice right away there's a lot of space, and that was kind of our goal in creating this space. Although it's a tiny space, we didn't want it to feel like it was compact and that there wasn't a lot of room. So the first thing we did to kind of help that was raise the roof 20 inches. We're both really tall, so having that extra space is definitely needed. It was difficult, but definitely worth it.
One of the things I'm most proud of in this bus is like probably one of the simplest things in the bus. It's this table right next to me. So it actually folds out to be like this long. And then you can hide things in it when it's folded up.
We definitely made the work area like a focal point in our bus, because We obviously have to work while we're on the road. It's not just all fun and games. So this whole area folds out, and we both can have a workspace, our own area, right by the window, and it's really nice. And then when we're ready to like work out in here or do other things or have people over, we just fold it right back up. So I think that's like a unique feature in our bus, which is really nice. We definitely have like a lot more open space than most buses that I've seen. Something that was really important to me as someone who loves to cook is having a full kitchen. Here we have a full kitchen. We have tons of storage space again, cabinets with food. Jay and I are huge foodies, so it was really important for me to have a full kitchen, be able to have a stove, an oven, just everything that you need to cook. We have a huge sink here as well, so we can just throw our dirty dishes in here and not really have to worry about them, especially for traveling or moving. This sink has come in clutch for things like that. One thing I did not want to compromise on was the shower. So we kind of went back and forth on this, but I just wanted to have a full-size shower, not have to worry about having to go to gyms or not shower for a few weeks. Having the shower and 100 gallons of water has really made it so that we live pretty much the same way that we were living before. Over here is our bed. It's a queen-size bed. It's a little bit tall. I'm about 5'11", so put that into perspective how tall this thing is. But it's nice because on the other side, which Jay will show you, we do have a lot of storage underneath our bed, which is the whole reason and purpose for making it so tall. This whole design back here, kind of feature headboard wall Jay and I made. We just started putting 2x1s together, mixed and matched them, and just created a headboard, which I think it turned out pretty nice. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for the inside of the bus. Jay's outside, so let's go meet him out there and he'll show us around outside.
This is what we call the garage. Here we have all my tools, so if we need to do repairs while we're on the road. I'm a carpenter by trade, so I always just have my tools with me. We store both of our bikes in here, and this is like how Kelsey said, the bed is so high inside. We did this so we could fit the bikes under the bed from this way. And then up there is where we store the basketball hoop, which hangs on the side of the bus.
Another unique thing that we have in our bus is the basketball hoop on the outside. I don't think anyone else has anything like that that's living in their bus. So it's actually regulation height.
We were in Joshua Tree, just like in the desert, like no one for miles, and we put the hoop up. We're just in the middle of the desert, sand all around us, and we're all just playing basketball. It was kind of surreal. So the paint job on our bus, it definitely stands out. It's one of the first things people notice. I mean, we don't blend in when we're driving down the street. And the inspiration actually came from the shoes I'm wearing right now. I don't know, we kind of just held the shoe up to the bus one day and we were kind of like, how about we do that? We did a whole base coat in white. We sprayed on white, and then we taped off the geometric design and kind of just went to Home Depot, bought a bunch of colors, and then just had fun with it.
So the same as what's written on my t-shirt is written on the side of the bus, if not now, when? And this is just a slogan that we live by. Kelsey painted this on the bus just before we hit the road 1 year ago, and it's kind of just always stuck with us. And it's really nice because it's on the left side of the bus, so anyone that's overtaking us, which happens all the time, they get to read this little quote, and hopefully it resonates with them for whatever reason.
Before this, I'd barely picked up a hammer. Honestly, I'd help my parents out with little projects, but nothing on this scale for sure.
Yeah, I had barely even painted before, so I was very new. Anything with a school bus is so unique because of the shape of it. So he could build a house in 3 weeks with 2 other guys, but building a school bus is such a different and unique thing, and there's always different problems that you face along the way. I'd say if you're considering this lifestyle, definitely just go for it. I feel like if you overthink it and think about all the what ifs and all the things that can go wrong, you'll just stop yourself from doing it. I think the first and biggest step for us was just buying the bus. So once we had that, we were like, okay, well, we can't go back now. We're all in now. So I think just start working towards making this lifestyle come true, because it's definitely doable.
The history of this, our now home, is pretty neat. It was built in 1922 as the Mount Calvary Lutheran Church. So when we acquired it, it was still a functioning church with pews and a pipe organ and tons of stained glass and an altar. Hi, I'm Robin Bordelon-Bourne, and this is my renovation story in New Orleans, Louisiana. When I walk into my home, I love the lofty ceilings. I love the open space. It's very calming. I love the eclectic feel of our home. Some pieces are hand-me-downs from my siblings and my mother. We bought very few things new. In the spirit of renovation, these are actually hand-me-down chairs from my mother. They were black lacquer with this very dark fabric, and we lightened them up when we renovated, and we think they're fun. I love the way it all kind of comes together to create our home. So this is our living room. It's our family room where we spend a lot of time as a family. It was very important for us to create a room that just felt comfortable. This particular space is where we love to highlight our children's art, from drawings and pottery, as well as some of the artifacts my son has found. So for example, for Mardi Gras, he went scouring after all the parades for all these fun bouncy balls. So they just live in this fun decorative bowl, and sometimes he uses them to play a game, or they just sit out and add color to the room. When people walk into the home, I love when they say how comfortable they feel, and that's really important to us. It was important to me to have furniture that can accommodate all four of us, so that's why we have this large couch. I love our coffee table. We play a lot of games, we play a lot of cards, roll dice, which is made by a local New Orleans artisan. I love our blue chairs. These actually existed in a former boutique I owned here in New Orleans, and I just love the way they add a pop of color to the room and kind of have that connection with the blue and the stained glass windows. So the blues and the ambers really create some both cool and warm tones for us to play with. I am the director of development for my children's school, and part of that role is just having one-on-one FaceTime with people or entertaining small groups. In the design process of this home, entertainment was a big part of what we wanted to be able to accomplish here, and so it's a full come circle of tying that in to my professional career as well. And in previous life, I always worked in hospitality and food and drink, so it was just always a natural fit for us to have a home that we entertain out of. My husband and I bought this home when our children were babies. We lived for about 12 years, only 4 blocks away, and would walk past it all the time. Upon buying the home from start to finish, it was a 2-year process. The design phase took about a year, and the construction took about a year. It had bright red carpet, so wall-to-wall red carpeting. So we pulled that to showcase the original hardwood floors. It also had a very, very dark ceiling that made it feel very top-heavy and just an overall heaviness. So we loved when we were able to come in and lighten it up by adding white to the ceilings and very much showcasing the beams. One of my big priorities when deciding on this home was, how do you define a modern space? Sometimes modern can feel cold, soulless, and we wanted modern functionality, but still have the textures and layers of who we are as a family, as individuals, and telling our family story. My husband has been collecting this vinyl record collection for a very long time, since way before we were even married. When we got together, it was very important that we finally create a space for this collection to live. And we created this room by lofting the space. So remember, it's a church, and it was just this big old wide open box of a building. So when we purchased the house, this particular area was a complete solid wall. We were looking for ways to allow natural light in. And so luckily, with the help of our architect, we just opened this up, and it just really allows outside to come in. Not to mention, it's a beautiful view of our neighbors' homes, their landscaping, and you get a slight peek of the New Orleans Jazz Fest. I think one of the boldest design choices we made was committing to having this open concept. It's hard to kind of get away If I'm in this room, I can still see in all the other rooms and still hear what's going on in all the other rooms. So I think that our boldest choice was just having such a big open concept space. So this little area here was the original bell tower of the church, and we decided to convert this to be an extension of the music room as well as a little reading nook in the actual bell tower. Come on up, I'll show you. This was one of the first pieces we bought as a married couple from a small boutique in Thibodaux, Louisiana. We've had parties before where there's a DJ playing to a party downstairs. It's an interaction of the space, the relationship between whoever's manning the music and whoever is down below. So when we were deciding what color to paint the exterior of the church, when we bought it, it was white with yellow trim. And we, as a design team, worked together to choose something that was more grounding. And so the exterior color of the church is this kind of dark, grayish, bluish, dark, grounding color. And so we wanted that idea to be an extension of the bell tower. We wanted it to kind of just disappear. So it's almost like you have this little like hidden treehouse feel. So when you come through the front door of the house, you're greeted by this hallway bathed in all this amazing morning light. We have our bookends here that kind of showcase the artifacts from our family and our photographs. And then my most favorite is the stained glass here. We've actually removed some of the colored stained glass panels and replaced them with clear. That way we can allow more of that natural sunlight in, and then we can actually look out. Some fun little artifacts that we have are these Moroccan baskets. We acquired these from one of our local New Orleans merchants. They have a local coffee shop here in the city, and they kind of are experts in importing Moroccan rugs and baskets and artifacts like that. My approach for curating the house is using what we have, using artifacts that mean something to my family. We didn't quite know what to do with our art collection, so it was why we've created a gallery wall, because we wanted an opportunity to showcase all this art we've been collecting. Growing up, one of my most favorite places to go as a child was Grand Isle, Louisiana. So you can see this painting at the top referencing the wonderful little barrier island of Grand Isle, Louisiana. We also showcase many New Orleans artists. Our dear friend Zach Smith is a music photographer here in New Orleans. Hans Lonham, very known across America for specifically his bunny collection, but also birds and other pieces of nature. This is just representative of just the art we have collected throughout the years, and we love that it's the backdrop to our dining area. So here in the dining room, we have this table that was actually once living on my mother's back porch in Bayou-Lafourche. After Hurricane Ida, when she moved, we inherited this table, and it's just become such a staple anchoring part of our dining room. We also renovated these chairs, which came from the elementary school I went to on the bayou. They were all the cafeteria chairs. And so with a little help, we just added a new coat of paint and fixed the bottoms. And we love having this bent wood chair look here in the dining room. Very much a classic chair that I think you would see in most New Orleans restaurants. Although I'm not a great pianist, I absolutely love when I get to come here and play. And more importantly, I love when I can invite real musicians over who will take time to play for us. It's such an anchoring part of our room. And of course, being in a church with all these amazing acoustics, it just fills the house with beautiful sound. So welcome to our bedroom. It was very important for us to create a room that just was calming, a retreat. We love this cool color that we did not only on the walls, but also on the ceiling. And I love this color because it changes with lighting. Sometimes it looks green, sometimes it's bluish gray, just very calming, soothing. One of my most favorite pieces that we bought for the house is a leather chandelier in our bedroom. When you turn the lights on, it creates this really cool shadow pattern in our bedroom, and I love that. So in addition to this beautiful chandelier, we knew we wanted to have lighting that just contributed to the softness of this room. So check out one of my most favorite features. So this wall of stained glass actually looks to the front yard. So when you're outside, you actually see this. So at nighttime, when our bedroom lights are on, anyone passing by sees all of this lit up. So this is our master bathroom. This truly is one of my most favorite places of the house. It is where I come to relax, and saving this stained glass to be a part of what this bathtub scene is, for me, one of my most favorite ways to relax. Initially, scale was very overwhelming to me in the design phase, and with the help of our architect, by creating these lofty spaces, it really helped to make the proportions of the room more manageable and feel just more like a cozy room. You know, when we first took over this space, it was, like I said, it was just one big lofty space, so we needed to kind of chop that up to create more manageable space. So here we're into our children's zone. This is kind of their playroom area. And this is kind of the neutral zone between my daughter's room and my son's room. It's really just an evolving room as they grow. We definitely wanted the art up here in the kids zone to be a little more playful, yet at the same time timeless. So we found this artist who does these three-dimensional beetle bugs that are actually folded photographs. I love the playfulness that they're actually crawling on this wall. Since we love art so much, it was really important that we kind of curate this area to be a reflection of just who we are, but in a timeless way. We wanted art that kind of carried through the children growing. 3 words I would use to describe this home: functional, family, and entertainment. So I love the clean lines of our modern kitchen. I spend a lot of time in here. We both love to cook. Our kids love to help us in the kitchen. I love just the simplicity of the very clean geometric tiles, and we have mixed metals with our appliances and our fixtures. So remembering that the rest of the house has these whitewashed walls, we wanted that neutral feeling here in the kitchen, and then allowing the pops of color to come from our food or our serving entertainment ware and things like that. So as we come out to the screen porch, it's neat to know that the building, the church, actually ended here. So we are standing at what was an add-on to the church, where there was a men's and women's bathroom that was added on. So we got rid of that to create a screened-in porch. And of course, living in New Orleans, we want something that can make a safe space away from mosquitoes, and just, it's a beautiful spot to have coffee in the morning. So throughout the design phase, I learned this wonderful phrase called neutral, and how blues and hues of blues can just also be its own neutral. So it was really important that we bring that concept into this, dark grounding outdoor space. And then with the help of Boo Interior Designs, she helped me pick these outdoor fabrics that really just suit our lifestyle. So of course, living in South Louisiana, we all love magnolia trees. Their big crunchy leaves, and of course this time of year in the spring to enjoy those beautiful white blooms that you can occasionally catch me picking one from City Park. Shh, don't tell. We really wanted to create a space that had modern functionality for a modern family, but still upheld the integrity of what this building was, and I think they did an incredible job of accomplishing that. I don't define my style as one particular. I like it to be a combination of many. Some might call my signature style eclectic. I might call it mashup. It's just taking pieces from both my husband's family and my family that maybe we've inherited along the way, or siblings have given me when they moved, and we just kind of incorporate it all to make it work together.
People question my choices, but I don't question my choices. My name's Donna McNeil, and this is my renovation story. This church was built in 1852 by a man named General Hiram Berry, who sadly lost his life in the American Civil War. But he also was involved in the lumber industry, and this house has no nails. It's pegged together, and the beams are hewn, and it's remained over all these years pretty plumb, which says a lot to the quality of building in that era. And of course, Rockland's famous for shipbuilding, and I think some of those shipwrights came and worked on this house, and so it's incredibly well built. I don't know the date on this, but it was sold to the Salvation Army They dropped the ceilings. They created a bunch of little rooms here and there. They made little offices up where the choir loft is. They used cheap materials. The integrity was destroyed. You know, God bless Peter Davis, who came along and bought it from the Salvation Army. He had a high aesthetic. He was an artist. He was a guitar maker. And he came in and let this place breathe again. He repaired the tin ceilings. He put in new windows, a heating system, all the kind of grunt work that doesn't interest me too much, but really saved the place. I feel like I really continued the work that Peter Davis started and honored his vision for this place. When I first looked at this place, there was a refrigerator plugged in over there, and there was an old pool table that was serving as a dining room table. There was a stove plugged into the wall. There was no cabinetry at all. First thing I did after I painted the floors was make a kitchen, and I really wanted it to feel like a bar because I knew I wanted to have events in here and I wanted people to feel comfortable. I wanted it to seat a lot of people so people could sit down and have a drink and feel like they were in both a private and a public space. It's all IKEA. This looks like Korean, but it's actually, I bought it at Lowe's. It's a sort of an imitation version. I'm so happy with it. It's been here for 7 years and it doesn't have a single mark on it because you can sort of buff them out. And I made this very thick. You know, you could go with the thin stuff, but if you make it thick, then it looks more expensive, even when it's really not. I saved money by going on IKEA, but I think it looks pretty high-end, and I bought really nice appliances. There's a Bertazzoni stove, a Fisher-Praxel fridge, and this beautiful double-drawered dishwasher. You can do a little bit, save water, or do a larger wash, or do both of them if you have a dinner party. But the sink and the faucet and everything, this is still all IKEA. You know, I think you can find super high aesthetic with not much cost if you look around. These are antiques, they're hammered. Somebody downtown did them. I found them in an old junk shop. Stuff like that I just kept collecting and made a kitchen. I didn't work with a designer. Everything is just my idea. I'm also not one of these people that sets up a Pinterest board and, you know, thinks about what everybody else is doing. I never do that. It's just all sort of, comes from inside. I've been a curator and a supporter of the arts my entire life. So I have a keen visual sense. I can just imagine it. You know, we all have our stuff. It's undoubtedly a space that I created and it's of me and my aesthetic, but I want other people to enjoy it. And I have made different spaces that I think different personalities, if you will respond to. The downstairs guest room is more masculine. The upstairs is I call it the princess room. It has a very high bed. It's very Victorian. It's got some tchotchkes in there. And I really wanted this downstairs space to be a library, but it's kind of not working like that, so I'll change that eventually. But that is also a very austere space with a kind of Donald Judd-inspired daybed in there and a collection of Turkish urns. So there was this room up there that was like a mystery room. It had an old-timey privacy window, but you open the door and there was no window, there was nothing in there. It was just this dark space. Because my bedroom's up there, I didn't want to have to come downstairs to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I thought, well, I'll make that a bathroom. To relate to the size of the space, I put a very long counter in there. I've been working with a carpenter throughout this whole thing named Stephen Hall, and he put a hole in that wall and created a window, and then I situated a bathtub so you look out at this gorgeous maple tree, and in the fall it's just bright orange. So bathing in general is very ceremonial, and it's also so metaphorical for birthing and cleansing and purifying. And ever since I put that bath in, I've become a devoted bath person. I think I've made some pretty nice bathrooms. It's quite a small space. I can pretty much stretch my arms across and touch the walls. So I made it a wet room, and I put in all that beautiful small marble stones so that you won't slip in the shower. And then I got the tiniest sink in the universe. Like, I had a friend say, what is that thing in there pretending to be a sink? But because it's a wet room, it doesn't matter if it splashes all over, and I fell in love with it as an object. I like squares, and there's a square toilet, and people are like, what? You know, people question my choices, but I don't question my choices. So when you have such a large space to work with, you have to think about scale. Things, objects, and people can feel easily just diminished. If you're up to it, it's quite expansive, and it creates your personal largesse and your kind of upward feeling awesomeness of a space, which churches are intended to do, right? You walk in them, you're supposed to feel toward heaven. But you put a small object in here and it becomes smaller. You have to build the space in a way where it relates to the scale of the architecture, and that's a challenge. So I had this huge table built actually for a former large space, but it works beautifully here, and it anchors the space, as do the rugs, and they create little rooms, if you will, and divide the space. They're not typical living rooms, but people seem to gather and use the space in original ways. There's some quite large pieces, and then there's some more intimate pieces. And I think if they play off of each other, then it can work in a large space like this. People always ask me how I heat this place. Peter Davis put in 4 Renai heaters in this big space, and then zoned all the other spaces. They were also beige, and I painted them black. So that they would sort of go away. I can have the heat very low and come back from work and have it at, 75 in half an hour. It's nice and warm in the winter, surprisingly, and really pleasant in the summer. I've never air conditioned it. Peter also put these fans in, which I think help heating and cooling. They go with the sort of more contemporary aesthetic that I brought to this place, so I left them. And, you feel like you're maybe sitting Tangiers or something. And I spent quite a bit of time, 3 weeks, putting enamel-based oil, 3 coats, on the floors. Not just this floor, but throughout the whole house. The high gloss then reflects everything, and, you have a mirror effect going on, which also brightens a place, and it always makes it look clean and fresh. And if the sun comes out, you can see how brilliant it all is when the sun graces the room. Changing from the gray, it just brightened everything, and yeah, I'm very happy with it. People, are daunted by the thought of keeping it clean, but I'm like, yeah, well, you have to pay to play. This place is particularly rewarding because it embraces community so beautifully. When I first started living here, there was a young woman who was staying with me she was a chef. And she started a practice called radical hospitality, which is an ancient concept coming out of the monastery, where you would open your doors and welcome everyone and feed them. She'd make a big pot of soup and bake a bunch of bread, and it was just gorgeous. And it really sort of was the housewarming. It was the initial definition of asking community, or letting community know that this wasn't just one woman rattling around in this huge space, but that it was a space to share. And that was my intent in getting this enormous space, is to really have it be a community asset and to welcome folks in. So in keeping with my theme of welcoming community, after I painted the floors, I wanted to build a table and feed as many people as I could. And these pews were actually here. I wanted some things that were remnants of the history of this place. I kept the pews and I painted them, and I built this table to fit the pews exactly. I am obviously not a carpenter. It's pretty rudimentary, but you put a coat of paint on it and it sort of worked. It's used all the time, and I'm very happy about that and the pews. This other pew I bought in Ellsworth, but I thought, the more pews, the better. The outside of the church was so in need of a paint job that I thought I just might polish the aluminum siding and have it turn into a big tin can. I mean, it was really down to the metal pretty much. I decided to paint it black. That was 7 years ago. Black houses have become more in fashion, but actually black churches are traditional in Iceland. So I wasn't that weird, but the neighborhood, I had a guy all dressed in black on a big black Harley pull up and goes, you know, what are you painting your house black for? I'm like, well, you seem to like the color black pretty well. It makes the space, the building, less dominant in the neighborhood. I think that it quiets it down. If I had made it another color or even white, it would be larger. I think it really works, and I love the way that the black works with green. So I planted a lot of trees, and I also love to garden, so I've had a lot of fun doing that. But it's quite a formal garden. I wanted to really honor the elegance of this building. And I also love that it's sort of a big square. People thought I had turned this into a place for Satan worship and, all kinds of bizarre things. But I think what's really nice about painting it black, when you approach it at night, you don't really see the house, but you see these long windows of light, these candles, if you will. My neighbors were very pleased when I put a bright yellow railing on because that was my bit of humor. There's a little playfulness to adding such a bright color. I think that gives it a bit of levity and lets you know that human beings live in here that, sometimes smile. I did buy this place to share it. I like to host people. I don't have a family or a partner, and so I create one through community. There's been so much dancing and partying in this space, and it functions exactly as I envisioned in terms of welcoming folks in.
I often used to describe it as if the Munsters lived next to the Addams Family in Pee-wee's Playhouse near the ocean. Hi, I'm Adam Wallacavage, and this is my Wacky Shack house in Philadelphia. I grew up skateboarding. I was really into the ocean and fishing and spearfishing and diving. In the 80s, you would just see all these old Victorian houses that looked a lot like the Munsters house. My whole, I think, aesthetic is a mixture of the mid-century modern and Victorian. I bought this house in 2000, and it's about 3,000 square feet. It was very inexpensive back then. The house itself was kind of scary. It was converted to a doctor's office in the 1940s. So there was all these weird rooms and weird hallways, and it wasn't lived in, I don't think, for 7 years. It smelled weird, and everything was this bologna pink color. I just lucked out. This is the only house I looked at. After I got the house, it was pretty creepy in here. And so I started tearing down the walls that were built in the 40s. And I wanted a very opulent interior because I wanted a place to shoot photos. When I bought the house, this was 2 rooms. This was a doctor's office waiting room. And there was a door, and this went into the doctor's actual office. And then there was a door that went into the examination room, which is where the kitchen is. The first thing I wanted to do when I got this place was tear these walls down and look for the pocket doors, and I found nothing. Miraculously, a week later, I found these doors at the flea market for $30. One thing I was very lucky about this house, they kept the original fireplace, mantle, and the mirror. So I don't know anybody else on the block who has their original pieces. So I was really lucky about that. I was obsessed with the plaster moldings and all this, and this molding up here, the ceiling medallion, I got those pieces in Brighton, England. Just a couple pieces, and I brought them back and made molds. I got a cornbread tag. He's known as the originator of modern day graffiti. Super random people you would never think know. They're like, you have a cornbread tag? Because he was very famous in the 70s. I've always felt like I was an artist. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and that's just what we did. We just drew and painted and made stuff. I knew I wanted to go to art school, but I really felt art school was a big waste of money, so I didn't even want to admit that to my father. My dad was in the military, so I joined the Navy. I was a Navy Seabee, which is the construction battalions of the Navy. I went to the local community college, Delaware County Community College, and I basically took all the art classes. So I had a great education there. So I was doing that, and then I was also working at a 1-hour photo lab and getting really, really into skateboarding and photography. This is my kitchen. When I was working on it, I didn't really have any plan. Everything was basically primered white before I realized which direction I was gonna go. And I had these circus-themed mid-century modern glasses, and I was like, oh, you know, I'll do like a circus-themed sort of thing maybe. So I started painting stripes and just using pastel fun colors. There was a bathroom in the kitchen because this used to be an examination room. And then the inside of this is a collection of masks. And then over the years, all different artists, musicians who visited have signed the inside of the store. This is a bat lamp I made with my friend PJ Linden. I mean, I have some taxidermy in the house, but I kind of prefer fake taxidermy. This is from Bambi Cleaners, which is a Philadelphia landmark. And these were thrown in the trash. The handles for the drawers. I got these 3 in Paris flea market in their casket handles. I often think of the house as a sketchbook, whereas I'm learning. I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of neat things, but I don't want to feel, I want the attachment to be what I learned from it. And because so much of it is about the journey of learning where to find things and the resources. So, because when I first got this place, I didn't have any money. So I had to basically do everything on my own, which was great because that's how I started learning. I had friends help, but I did almost everything by myself. Later now, I have great resources, mainly skateboarders who are extremely skilled in everything, woodworking and concrete. Those are the guys who rebuilt my backyard, rebuilt built a greenhouse. This was originally a dining room when I bought the house, but there was a doorway over here in this creepy hallway that went around the examination room, which was this was for the doctor. And this was a sealed wall. But I chopped out everything and rebuilt everything and made this room, which ended up being what changed my career from photography to making novelty chandeliers. I wanted to do like a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne style, but also Ernst Haeckel. That was a big inspiration to me, was Ernst Haeckel's book, Art Forms in Nature, elements of sea life and whatnot, and nature and ornamental design. I was like, that's what I want. And so I started sculpting octopus arms, and it took a long time because I didn't know how to sculpt very well. But I did 2 arms that I sculpted, and then I made molds of those, and then I started casting them out of plaster. These are the very first pieces that I made with the chandeliers. And so I started making them for this room that I'm sitting in right now. And that was around 2001. And after I finished them, they were so much fun to make that I just didn't stop. So this is called the Jules Verne room, octopus room. But this is my first real experiment in playing around with ornamental plaster techniques. And it was very simple, just finding, well, this is a piece of picture framing that my friend had. I got a couple pieces of that, made some rubber molds of those. And it was just a matter of gluing and sticking them to the wall, and just kept going with it. The crown molding, that was something I was really obsessed with. I don't know, I was very ambitious back then. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. That's what I would basically do every night, just work on this room. But it came out just right. I like it a lot. Then even the mirrors, I didn't have enough money to buy a full-length mirror. I would just go to thrift shops and buy whatever mirrors I could find and then cut them. So there's all these seams, but it kind of looks more authentic. I wasn't afraid. I just kind of went for it without really hesitating. And it's the imperfections that kind of bring out the grace, actually, and the uniqueness and the fun of it. I think modern stuff is actually a lot more difficult because you have to be perfect. This, you could be really sloppy. So that was very encouraging. These portholes are one of the reasons that I bought the house, because when I called the realtor, he said, oh, it has a sort of classic interior, but the basement looks like a ship. And I was like, I think that's my house. Now let me show you the backyard now. This is my tiny South Philly backyard. The realtor didn't even let me look out the back. He said he lost the key. And I didn't care because I wanted this place so bad that when I finally did get the house and went out in the back, I saw why he didn't want me to see it, is the old built-on kitchen was all rotted out. And the thing about having a small backyard, I always wanted things to be like go vertical. The skateboarders from FDR Skate Park made these forms with the metal from the old vert ramp that was down there. So these will all be covered in mosaics, just like everything else by Jody Rice. When you come out here, you don't know you're in the city. Then this is my bedroom here. This was a gas chandelier, but it was converted to electric. This was made in Philadelphia, and it has Philadelphia on the keys. These are the types of things I like to have as part of Philadelphia history. And this is a Gothic, I think Masonic bishop's chair. And then this is one of the bat lamps I made. And these curtains are this beautiful burnt velvet, which I got from the Kevin O'Brien studio, which is literally like 5 blocks up the street. I like how I live on one of the busiest streets in the city, but with the plants and the tree, you don't even know it. So this is the Trumbauer room. Originally this room was the music room when I bought the house. I made this my photo studio. I took a lot of this stuff out. I always had plans to do something completely over the top with this room. I got a phone call from my friend Bob Beatty, who has a salvage company. And he said, I want you to see this mansion. He's like, I'm doing the demo on it. I'm like, awesome. The mansion was designed by Horace Trumbauer. Trumbauer was one of the main architects of the Gilded Age. And so this came from a Beaux Arts mansion. And I was able to get one of the rooms and buy the wood out of it. More skateboarders, they meticulously rebuilt it into this room. This room is beyond anything I could ever imagine having when I first bought this house. But my favorite is looking this direction into the greenhouse. So this is the greenhouse, and it's one of my favorite places in the house because it really makes the winter go by fast. When I first got the house, this was just a bay window. 2010 is when I had a deck built outside of it, and I had these French doors put in. I never really used the porch because it was just too miserable out here in the summer. Hired an architect, and we did it properly, and it came out really nice. I made all these pieces all around flat. I laid the pieces into mastic, tile adhesive, and then I resined everything over. So it's completely waterproof, so I could spray this room down. This is one of my favorite things. This is a reproduction Fisk Victorian aquarium. I got 4 little black angelfish, not realizing how goth that actually was. So this is my 3rd floor hallway going to my studio. This piece here actually is pretty remarkable. I got this in a Pook and Pook auction, and when I went to go pick it up, it was on the wall, and I didn't know until I got it that it did this. So I was just like, oh my God. So I paid for it and I ran home with it. I stole it because I just couldn't believe how cool the thing was. This is called the Goo Goo Muck, and I made this for my friend Jimmy Webb for his store in New York City called I Need More, which was a punk rock boutique. And I got this back after he passed away a few years ago. I designed these skateboard decks in 1999 for Toy Machine skateboards, and it was my friend Bam Margera was on it at the time, and Mike Maldonado and Carrie Getz. I'm not super into Halloween. I just kind of like weird looking stuff, but this is part of a Halloween thing I had out front. So I don't, I mean, it looks like I'm all into Halloween, but I like this stuff because it's funny looking. The very first night I stayed here, I was by myself, and that was weird because I guess I had sleep paralysis, and I heard the door open downstairs with there was a Venetian, like a metal Venetian blind on it, and I heard it. And the window was open, and I heard something jump in the window and jump on my chest. And I just laid there thinking, like, wait, no, I was dreaming this. And there's nothing here. And this house has always been very peaceful. If there are spirits here, they like me. So this is my studio. This room was originally the first bedroom I had. When I bought the place, I just stayed up here because the downstairs was pretty creepy. So when I moved downstairs bedroom and I did more of the house, this was my photo archive room. Once I started making the chandelier, I switched over to just making everything in here. And then 4 years ago, I realized I really had to rebuild the whole place, make it easier for making this stuff. So I took everything out, cleaned everything out, painted it all goofy, and I kind of know where things are, even though it looks a little chaotic. I surround myself with things that kind of inspire me, like the antique stuff. One of the main things about making lamps and kind of being a craftsperson is you have to have a lot of spaces and to put stuff. It's always the biggest challenge, and I have stuff all over the place. This is pretty much where everything's made and then gets shipped around the country and sometimes around the world, and it just comes from this little table. I want people to be inspired like I was inspired, in the sense that, well, I wanted things I couldn't afford or didn't exist, and I realized I can make them. That's pretty cool. But I want to encourage people to do things for themselves and make their own things, because it's really fun. Have fun with what you're doing, and don't worry about screwing up or not being perfect, because that takes the fun out of it.
I've always told my kids, it is all in the details. Everything you do, take it one step further, and it makes it even better, and it becomes the unexpected.
Hi, I'm Grant.
And I'm Joannie.
And this is our handmade schoolhouse in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I'm from South Knoxville.
I was born in Oak Ridge, but been in Knoxville basically my whole life.
We dated off and on all through high school, and then when we went to the university, we decided, yeah, this is it. So we've been married for, I have to think, is it 41 years?
Yeah, I know. We've been together 45 years, at whatever capacity. When we first got married, we lived not far from here, and for some reason one day we saw somebody up here and we just stopped in and said, would you all sell the place?
He said, oh, my dad will sell anything.
It was totally dilapidated. Every window was busted, roof falling in. Everything was just full of trash.
This originally was the Klondike School building. The neighbors have been so cool because they went to school here and they would tell stories of the window that they broke when they were playing ball or where they got their first kiss.
We've had a couple of graduating classes that have called and said, can we have a reunion there? And so we pretty much open it up when people want to look around, as long as they look legit.
When people walk through the door, usually it's a wow.
We'll have people come in and sometimes we barely know them, so yeah, just walk around.
And they'll just look, and then the questions start.
This is our living space. This was part of the original two-room 1910 schoolhouse. Some years back, we added an elevated platform just for living space, just to separate the room, give some interest. So we added this fireplace some 25 years ago, just because that is our main living space and we enjoy fires so much.
We truly live in this space. We watch a lot of television, a lot of movies, we play cards, we play board games. When the kids come over, this is where we hang out. We spent a lot of time during COVID creating the dollhouse that was our daughter's that never got finished.
It sat down in the basement for 30 years and we flirted with throwing it away, but we just couldn't. And when COVID hit, we needed, like everybody, something to do. So we said, well, let's renovate the dollhouse. And it really was fun because as an architect and a teacher, we didn't want to go buy dollhouse pieces. So we either made or transformed things.
Right.
And probably one of the neatest things was Joannie came up with it, a lid on coffee creamer. When you take it off and set it down, it's got a lid that pops up and it looks like a commode. So that's the commode in the dollhouse. So those were the types of things that we just spent hours trying to do and look for while we were locked up for 2 years.
Travel has really influenced us with our colors and different things we want to incorporate into our living space. We have modern, we have boho, we have a lot of African things. We have our camel collection inspired by our camel trek in Morocco. I believe that a collection of things needs to live together to make it look like a collection. I've always loved globes. Maybe it's from my teaching years, but always on the lookout for a new globe to add to the collection.
We just wanted this to be a big, open, inviting space. So we actually just flowed this into what is the kitchen and dining area. We have an existing wall we took out to bring light in and to make this even more open and inviting for where we live and spend most all of our time.
I have really treated the hallway like a hallway in a school. When we travel, we take a lot of pictures, and I was looking for a way to display those a little differently. And so that's all the time changing.
And our kids would rollerblade, roller skate, tricycle, bicycle, up and down the halls. It's always been a play space, if you will.
The floors are kind of rough. There are dog scratches where they've stopped, and I wouldn't take those out for anything. This is our Hilton. It is misspelled on purpose. Come on in, I'll show you around. We love to visit New York City, and we kind of wanted to have that vibe but yet work in here, so we created our faux New York City skyline out of wood. The Hilton, because it is surrounded by hills that are gorgeous out here, and there's not as much color in here because we didn't want to overwhelm our guests. But that really started out as our nursery, and it became Owen's nursery, then Owen's bedroom, and then it became Wallace's nursery and Wallace's bedroom, and they were not very happy when we changed it over.
The day after they left.
Yeah. They're gone, let's fix it up.
Throw it out.
I taught in a school for years that was a happy environment, and things were everywhere. There were always colorful pieces of art and works of the kids, and so I just thought, well, we need to do it that way here. So we have lots of pictures from places that we have traveled, and one of the things that I really like is my book tree that I had seen on Pinterest, and we went to an estate sale, and they had tons of books. They were not really books that you would want to read, so I thought these would be perfect to give them another life. It stays up all the time, but we have lights on it at Christmas, and we'll put hearts on it at Valentine's Day and birds on it during the spring and summer, and it's just been a really fun addition. And besides, every school has to have a lot of books.
Now we can go into the principal's office.
Olive, come here. Crazy girl.
This is the bedroom, and we wanted a loft type feel. We built a platform up for the bed just so that we could have a little variety in here and have a little interest.
The clock is one of my favorite things in here because Grant has always said, if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. So I found this clock, and I wanted it for his office, and it didn't fit. But that's okay, because we ended up putting it in here, and I think it's perfect in here. It does work, but it's loud.
It came out of an abandoned mall down in Florida.
Down in Florida,
somehow made its way up to Knoxville.
If we ever have a fire or anything ever happens, our books back behind me here are the one thing that you're supposed to grab. We've been writing books together for years. We are on book number 22, I think, now. You'd love to get them out and read them, see some of the crazy things that went on. Unfortunately, we didn't do it when we were renovating. It was kind of the beginning of our modern phase we went through, and now we're probably adding more to it to make it more of the boho feel that we seem to be comfortable with. Our bed is on rollers, which has been kind of cool. When it snows, we like to turn the bed around and watch the snowflakes come around. Now I want to take you to my favorite room in the house. It's my closet. It's odd to say that a closet's your favorite in your house, but this is really one of my favorites. Totally me, way too many clothes. So I had all my clothes on the white clothes hangers, and I thought, those just don't really work. And Mom's was all the time looking for something to do. So I ripped the fabrics up into pieces, and I showed her, and we worked on them, how I wanted them wrapped around the coat hangers, and then we would take yarn and go over top of that. My mother did about 200 of those. Every piece of clothing in my closet is one that my mom and her caretaker helped to cover with me, and they are priceless to me. Also, one of my favorite things in here is my pair of lips that Grant and I made from the barn wood on the barn next to us. I went down to my neighbor one day and I asked him what he was going to do with his barn wood, and he said, I don't know, do you want some? And it was like, yes, sure, I want some. He said, what are you going to do with it? And I said, would you please just trust me and let me show you when it's finished? And so we had them hung up And I went to get him one day and I said, here's your barnwood. And he was like, I never would have thought that's what you were going to do. But he was so proud of the lips. I'm always interested in what they seem to go through first. And there's really nothing that everyone seems to go to other than the bus. They like the bus. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of bus owners in the neighborhood, so I hopped in the car with the neighbor. We went down to the bus guy, and I told him what I was wanting. He said, you don't care if it has an engine? No, I don't want an engine in it. And he said, well, yeah, if you want one. We got back in the car, and the neighbor went, what the hell just happened? I said, I just bought a bus. It has a reading area. We have a table and 2 of the original seats that we play cards. People hang out in it and parties. It's great in the rain. It's just kind of cool.
The bus doesn't have an engine intentionally, and when you lift the grill up, the front grill up off of the bus, we pull our grill out to grill. So that was,
yeah.
We've enjoyed that. A lot of people do like that because
yeah.
It's just pretty unique.
If you come to our house, you have to sign our bus. And we have had a lot of signatures. The bus has only been out there for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, something like that.
And it already has a lot of signatures that are special.
This place is our lives. I mean, we've been here 40 years, and you know, again, just because we did the work ourselves, we never could let go. So
no, it does mean everything.
Yeah.
I think when people get here, the first thing they notice, they come up through the small opening of the stairwell and they notice the light and the windows and how they're in the middle of the woods all of a sudden. I'm Saya.
And I'm Tomas.
And this is our handmade home right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. We've been together for about 6.5 years. We met through a friend that he dated before me, very casually and a quick thing, but I saw him a year later at Whole Foods. Then I invited him to the grand opening of the hotel, and he came, and from that night on, we've been together. I am a creative consultant that focuses on project management for new hospitality concepts and design.
I am an artist that works in multiple mediums, from video to photography, design, concrete, metal, and wood. I was actually persuaded to build a container home by 2 friends who had a design and build studio in town. They knew that I was in the market for a fixer-upper and that I had some welding experience, and they told me I could make this affordable if I did the metal work. I found some land, we came up with a design for the terrain, did the budget, put together a timeline. It seemed doable, and I took the leap of faith. It took 4 containers to build this home. The containers were dropped off on the side of the road, and then we scrambled to put together the 4-legged slings to be able to lift these off the ground. The containers were basically lifted up. All 3 of us guided them into position. And once the first one was perfectly in place, the other 3 just sort of stacked into place naturally.
And magically.
And magically,
yeah.
Yes, and you know, very, very magically.
When you walk into the front door, you'll be in our foyer, which is kind of transformed through the years.
This is a room that I am particularly proud of because I custom made this door out of 2-inch angle iron, and it's got angle iron handles and tempered glass insulated.
We've added kind of a little art gallery, a moment to showcase some of Tomas's photographs that we keep on rotation for fun from travels we've been on or something he's been working on at the time. So the entrance of our home is kind of a little artistic moment before you get to go explore the rest of the house.
And then over here, We have the cantilevered staircase. It's probably the first thing that people notice when they come in the home. It's made out of, an I-beam, 3-inch angle iron, and poured concrete. And I would guess there's about 1,500 pounds of concrete on this. And the weight is supported by a cross brace that I've got welded up there and down there.
We have a daughter, Paloma.
Beautiful little girl.
When the house was first designed, there wasn't a second bedroom. Whenever we found out I was expecting Paloma, we quickly had to find a space for her nursery. So we decided to convert the foyer into her bedroom. We have all kinds of handmade items that I've collected from Etsy. Our daughter's name is Paloma, and Pablo Picasso's daughter's name is Paloma, and so he created multiple pieces. So this is a version of one of his paintings. It's one of the first things I've got when we decided on her name. And we have this nice surprise little decal behind the curtains so we can learn the alphabet together. This rug is one of my favorite things in the whole house. Tomas and I went on a trip to Istanbul, and we decided to buy a rug when we were there. And so we went down the whole rabbit hole in the Grand Bazaar into different rug dens and had tea and spent hours. And we came home with this beautiful rug, and I love that it wound up in our nursery.
I feel that I built a house and she's made it a home.
Yeah, we've really been able to play off each other well. First of all, we really respect each other's design preferences, and so that's a lot of fun. We usually collaborate so well that the end result winds up being much more than either of us could imagine.
Whenever I come up with a design, I consult with Saya and get her thoughts on it, and 100% of the time, it becomes better and more interesting. No, it's true. I think every home needs whatever fits the lifestyle of the person and whatever makes them happy. But if I had to have one thing in every home, it would be a hangboard. Welcome to my training facility, conveniently located by the master bathroom. This is called a hangboard, and it is a training device that is used by rock climbers to strengthen their hands and tendons, and it takes up very, very little space. Welcome to the master bathroom. This place features a deep soaking tub, a poured concrete tub surround, a set of cantilevered shelves, a nice window to enjoy the outdoors as you shower. This house is very inspired by the concept of wabi-sabi, and wabi-sabi is a Japanese concept that embraces imperfection, transience, and incompleteness. This concept is the antidote to my Western mindset, which is obsessed with perfection, permanence, and achievement, which can really hinder the creative process. Part of our goal with this house was to construct it in a way that's in harmony with the landscape.
This is the master bedroom, and it's my favorite room. In the morning, the sun really comes through the windows, and when I open the curtains, it's the most beautiful start to a day. And at night, when I close them up, it's like a cave in here, and I can really hibernate.
And one of the really nice features is that you can look outside the window and see a stream flowing underneath. And when the weather is good, you can open up the window and go to sleep with the sound of running water.
These vintage lamps were a great find. They are original 1960s Danish lamps, and they're a great space saver to have hanging lamps in a room this size.
And they're also cantilevered, which goes nicely with the theme of this whole house. This is a bench that I made with my friend Ben Crawford at his machine shop. It is made from reclaimed wood. It's yellow pine, and it's made from stainless steel. One of my favorite features in the master bedroom is this little nook area with this rocking chair. We really purchased it to nurse Paloma, our little daughter, but I have found that it's also just very comfortable to sit here and enjoy a book by the stream. Richard Neutra believed that architecture could be used to heal the human mind, and I also believe that. I believe that a space can help you be happier, feel more organized and energized. Having a home that fits your lifestyle makes a huge difference in your quality of life.
This is our living room. This is the main space where we hang out, spend most of our time in this room.
I love the seamless transition between the interior and the exterior spaces. This is made possible by the way the glass was installed. You can tell that the glass is actually set a little below the concrete, and that sort of enhances that effect that you could walk directly outdoors.
And when we're ready to watch a movie, we can pull down our screen and pull out the projector. This fireplace was a great find. I actually found it in Chattanooga. In one of the neighborhoods, somebody was selling it for a really low price. It was a little banged up, so we found somebody that was willing to paint it. They didn't do a great job, but and then it was also, the next trick was figuring out how to install it. So we had to get all these different flues that fit inside each other. Tomas did the very difficult part of poking a hole in the roof, but the result is worth all the effort. I love this painting that I found at a local thrift store. It was only $200, and I got it before we had this house, but we realized that it looks just like our home, and it brings us a little bit of joy every day. We're now in the kitchen. It's right off the living room, and I love that I can see Paloma while I cook.
These countertops are inspired by the work of Fu-Tong Cheng, who's a designer and builder based out of Berkeley, California. He is a very generous author who wrote Concrete Countertop. It provides all the instructions that you need to do this type of work, and it's been my Bible for all the projects that you see featuring concrete.
We decided to put a fun pop of color at the back of this island, so when you walk up the stairs, you see something more interesting than just a panel of wood. And now it's become an arts and crafts area for Paloma. And these cabinets were custom made by Tomas out of birch, and because of the difficulty of staining birch, we decided to paint the cabinets a color. We chose this light blue on top, so it'll just seamlessly blend in with the windows and the sky. And we chose this orange down below, so it blends in with the rocks outside. And just across from the kitchen is our office. Tomas and I both use this space. We make the most out of it. My proudest DIY moment is our dining room library. I've always seen those in magazines and big houses and always dreamed of being able to do one for a client. So I'm really proud that I could pull it off in this type of a space.
What I really love about the library is that it features a bookshelf that has been repurposed from the university, and the shelves are cantilevered, which again goes with many elements in this home, from the house itself to the lamps to the tables and the staircase. There's just many elements that incorporate that style of design.
I just love them.
My husband came home from work one day and he said, "Hey, do you want a school bus?" And I was like, "What?"
Hi, I'm Molly Mansfield, and this is my handmade home in Taylor, Texas.
I am an artist. I work with oil paints, making landscape and botanical paintings. Our house, it was a complete fixer-upper. It was built in 1935. It hadn't been updated since the 70s. So it needed to be painted, it needed everything. And on the inside, everything was linoleum floor and wood paneling on the walls and the stuff that looks like styrofoam on the ceiling.
This is our living room. So we painted it pink. We did like the walls and the ceiling all pink.
My husband and I are foster parents. When we found out that we were only going to be getting boys in our home, I kind of knew, like right at that moment, that I wanted to paint our living room pink. I think it was just a little bit of like this rebellious nature in me of like, well, if you're gonna say that I can only have boys, then I'm gonna have a pink living room. I love the warmth that it gives and the ability that it has to kind of make a space feel cozy and comfortable. I'm really inspired by houseplants, so I have a whole bunch of them in my home, and I try to have multiple plants in every room.
I do think that plants are one thing that every house needs. In addition to art, both of those things are very, they give off their own energy and they make a home feel vibrant.
We have an entry-level but growing art collection. So we have a lot of my art, but we also love to support other artists.
This is one area where we have some art displayed. There's a few of my paintings and a photograph from an uncle of mine and 2 paintings from this a friend of mine who's an abstract artist, Inge Flint, and I really love her work.
I also really love children's art and the way that like the energy that has. It has such a like playful and happy energy. So I've also framed some of my kids' paintings and drawings as well.
I love displaying my kids' artwork and just kind of having the clothesline where they can trade it out and put up some of their fresh pieces.
I think something that is really important in your home is just having good flow of the floor plan, and this is something that I didn't realize until we moved into this house. When someone walks into our home, I really want them to feel comfortable and like they are at home, and I want them to feel cared for.
This is our bedroom. It is probably my favorite room in the house. I love the light in this room. Every room in the house has a lot of windows, but this room has the prettiest light, and I think it's just the south-facing windows that it gets. So we painted, just like did a straight line right there. So that part of this wall is white, just so that I can hang my artwork here and be able to photograph it with good light, without any like tinted light from colors of walls.
It's definitely the light that I think makes that room significant, because we haven't really, like I said, we haven't touched it yet.
This is my studio. It is a renovated school bus. We put a closet in right here where the driver's seat was. We put wood flooring in here, which I love the warmth and feel of that. This is a desk that my husband improvised. He just took this, this is all like one piece of wood. It's the piece of wood, it's made out of like small slats of wood that are laminated together. On this side is just a piece of wood on top of some cinder blocks, and I've actually been utilizing the cinder blocks for storage.
Having this space that is dedicated to my painting and being able to come in here and create is so nice. It's been a year now since I've had this space, and I kind of forget what it was like, but I'm so grateful for it. Just the ability to kind of keep a work in progress up, keep my paints out and my mess. I love being able to make my own mess and not have to clean it up, and not have to worry about any little hands coming and getting paint on other surfaces.